welcome everyone to Our Life Now and Forever, and back to Golden Grove because it's been a while. I've really dreaded having to finish this beautiful, wonderful demo because I really want the game to be out, and it's not going to be for a while. But yeah, last we left, it was kind of awkward. Today's episode is going to be either really short or really long. Not sure. Anyway, let's start. It was going to be good to see her the next day and the day after that. Talking about Mrs. Murray, or Murray, my teacher. Not sure if it's Murray or Murray, but oh well. Right next to you, the spell that kept Tamarack totally locked on Mrs. Murray during class broke. The teacher went over to her desk, and Tamarack turned to you. She stared at the pencil in your hand. Actually, it was the opposite. She was looking at the hand that was holding the pencil, because that's different, I guess. And she kept staring. The way you had it was really interesting to her, but she couldn't tell why at first. It was tougher to figure out than anything in class had been for her. She used all her brain power and it clicked on a light inside of her head.
Oh, it's your other hand, the left one. I used my right.
Her open right palm was suddenly only a tiny bit from the top of your nose. You almost had to cross your eyes to focus it. Oh no.
My Omi and Opa and Mom and Dad use their right hands too, but you don't. That's amazing.
I can use both hands. Tamarack used both of her own hands to slap the tabletop and shoot up from her chair. She peered down at you over the desk, still sunk in your seat. That was the first time you'd ever had to look up to see Tamarack. She was so small, and you didn't think that would have ever had to happen.
What? That's real?
Yes, Tamarack, it is. She bent her arms back and under like the legs of a closed folding chair, but she stretched her neck out forward past her bag into your space. Tamarack had gone from high up all the way down to tabletop level, and was watching every twitch of your fingers. Wow, not creepy at all.
How do you do it? Put the pencil in your other hand.
Okay, Tamarack. Here I go. Just watch. The pencil passed from your left hand to your right hand. You lifted it up to Tamarack's glittering ruby red eyes. That was what she'd wanted. Your stunt made her whisper in wonderment.
Whoa.
As if that proved something, you hadn't even written anything with it. Anyone could just hold a pencil with both hands. Like, I can hold a pencil with both hands, and I'm very right-handed. She might not have known that, because Tamarack really didn't ask for anything more. Then Tamarack flapped back into her chair. Yeah, you gave a thumbs up with your left hand. You put your hand to good use and made Tamarack giggle sweetly. And then Tamarack wasn't talking about hands anymore. Thank goodness. That was finished, according to her. This time it really was the pencil itself that had her attention. She poked it with a finger. Boop.
I like your colored pencil.
Oh, I have more you can borrow sometime.
Thank you. But how would I use it?
Oh yeah, she didn't write in class. Maybe you could take it with you to use for homework.
Maybe.
Tamarack started to hum and got to work unbuckling the two front straps of her bag. You were listening really hard in class. The clasp she'd been tugging clicked open satisfyingly.
Yeah, Opa says I'm a good listener.
She flipped the top flap over, and in went one of the homework packets. Closing it all up followed right after. That was all she had to put away, 'cause she hadn't taken anything out of the bag for the whole class. She pulled the bag closer to her and wiggled herself under the strap. There was only one thing left before she was set. Tamarack bounced out of her chair, and the heavy bag settled across her shoulder with a rattle.
Come on, Andy.
She made a dash to the coat rack where her pink scarf was waiting. Before leaving, you remembered to take your homework packet and tucked it away in the inner pocket of your bag. Nothing else was forgotten either. You put all your things back where you'd taken them from. You even brushed off stray pencil shavings and eraser bits that had gotten into your side thanks to the other kids in your table group. Messy children, grr. Stop being so messy. The desk was all nice and clean when you finished. But as soon as you got up to leave, you didn't, 'cause someone called for you. Hey, Andy. You checked behind you, and there was Chew, coming up from the front of the class. He was waving a piece of tan, light-browned paper in his hand. Oh, hiya, Chew! It's good you're here. I've got stuff to say. Though, I guess I could have told you, even if you had gone. We live in the same neighborhood. It sounded like Chew struggled to wrap his head around the idea that the two of you were strangers about a day ago, and now you're people who are going to be seeing each other all of the time. There was a soft crinkle as Chew tapped the edge of his special paper against his right palm again and again. He stopped being able to hear it when Chew started to ramble, though he kept doing it. Okay, so this paper. Here's what happened. I was talking to my mom and dad about it yesterday, and when it was still yesterday, and I realized something. He flapped both of his arms out wide. Chew was acting as blown away as he must have been when he first learned the thing we was trying to explain. Tamarack finding my paper and sending it to you wasn't some unexpected, unexplainable thing that we wondered about. It was sucky. I'm sorry, what now? It was... What? Chew, I'm confused. Okay. What? It was? Yes, it was. With drama and emotion, Chew whipped his arms up and down in rapid gestures. He needed you to feel what he was feeling, which turned out to be what he imagined you had been feeling before. You got a paper airplane with a message on it that had your name and everything. That's exciting. It had to mean something. But then it wasn't a message for you. It was an accident? Whoa, that's the biggest letdown I can ever imagine. Thank you, Chew. I'm glad to know that I'm a letdown to you. He had been flying the page around like it was another paper airplane, but he finally let it rest for a second when his arms drooped. All his bluster became only a sigh. If you were gonna get a note from me, then it should have had something to say to you. That's what I thought when I thought about it more. Oh, now I get it. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the end of the story, though. It was a prologue. Oh, no. Chew sprung back into action and raised his left arm with the page pressed between his thumb and the rest of his outstretched fingers. And so, I've got something for you. He shook the paper in his hand, grinning cheekily. There was no way not to get what he meant, and that it was supposed to be for you. You wrote me a note? That's right. Chew swished his paper one more time to bring it down low enough for you to take. Thank you, Chew. You excitedly seized the note from his hand. The page in your fingers was exactly like you'd remembered from the plain one, somehow tougher and softer than regular paper, and that same light brown color. But when you read the message, the words scribbled on it were all different than the first time. Hold on, I need a minute to mentally process that. That's adorable. That is amazing, Chew. I love you. You are the best neighbor ever. Welcome to the neighborhood from Chew Lin. This time actually. Oh my gosh. That's what the... Oh my gosh. Welcome... I can't even read. This makes me so happy. I wish I had friends like this. That's what was written in big clear letters. Stars and a smiley face crowded out any plain spots that words hadn't covered. It was careful work. The little extra line on the Q was a fancy curve, and he didn't even draw the stars from corner to corner. They weren't lines through the middle of them. The difference between a note she wanted somebody to see and the one you got by accident was huge. Some blurry thing came up past the top edge of the paper. You blinked, distracted, then squinted over the page to figure out what was going on in the room. It was Chew, high on his tiptoes. He was watching you read the note, smirking, hands tucked behind his back, and all around very pleased with himself. It's pretty good, huh? Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, this right here. Yeah, thank you a lot. Chew was already standing as tall as he could, but when you said what you said uplifted him even more through his eyebrows and the corners of his mouth. Aw. That lopsided smile grew until it was full to bursting. You're welcome. You gave one more glance at the message Chew had written for you. It was still there, welcoming you to your new neighborhood every time you saw it. Then you looked at Chew himself again. He'd finally dropped to his feet and hands, back to where they normally were. He waited there to see if you were going to do anything else. Huh. Yeah. Is this what you were writing down in class? Nope. I came up with that way before. I had other stuff I needed to write down during class. Okay. You had more things to write? Like what? I can't tell you about all of it. But one thing is that I was putting down where everybody's seats were. I had to write it so I could see people sitting around in their spots. Chew walked fast and firm while jabbing the tip of his finger into his left palm just as fervently. He was good at lecturing for someone who was in the 5th grade. That's amazing. Was I supposed to do that after class when everyone was gone, Mrs. Murray? Haha, no. I have reasonings for things. Oh. Well, that makes sense. Good. I can't tell if Andy actually thinks it makes sense or if he's just saying that. Even though Chew was the last one talking, he abruptly sliced a hand through the air to get what was the conversation out of the way, to have it be about something else. But wait, before I forget, I gotta tell you, I'm impressed, Andy. The first day's gotta be the hardest when you're new, and you didn't even break a sweat in class. His hands were on his hips in a commanding pose as he talked energetically. Nothing was held back. You didn't feel smarter next to his bright presence, and you didn't think that's what he was trying to do. She was starting to know you better, and it was making him look at you differently. You could handle it. What did you think would happen? You asked, confused. I don't know. Anything could have happened, but instead of anything, it was nothing. Aw. He closed his eyes and snickered. While thinking some kind of thought, he stretched his curled fingers out to feel the way his gloves were fitting in. Chew pinched at the edges to straighten them out better. Anyway, you and Tamarack are in the back seat next to each other, Mrs. Murray was smart. Just sometimes too smart for me. Chew, are you popular? With a huge smile, Chew swung his arms open wide. Yeah, of course. He acted like it was obvious, and it kind of was. You already knew. The paper crinkled in your hand. You'd been gripping it the whole time. You twisted away to pull the zip on your bag. The welcome message you had got from Chew went right next to the packet of homework Mrs. Murray had given you. Chew giving you the paper reminded you that there had been one you could give to him too. You gave him the paper he dropped before class. Your bag was already open from putting away the newest paper, so you just stuck your hand into it again. The backpack couldn't be zipped all the way, or everything would fall out. You only made a hole big enough for you to reach around inside. Luckily, the paper from Chew's special notebook wasn't anything like the homework from Mrs. Murray. You didn't have to look to know it. You could tell just by touching. But you did have to worry about mixing up the pages that was yours to keep and the one that wasn't. You had to stick your face against the cold, bumpy zipper track to read which cottony paper you had before you were sure you'd gotten the right one. Then you looked at Chew again. You dropped this? That's what you said when you held out the paper. It worked like a ticket to a time machine because you saw the exact same thing you did yesterday, with Chew gasping, flailing his hands, and all of it. It's... You! Both his hands smacked against his chest, pressing it back while his head, shoulders, and eyes jutted out in total shock. My gosh. You've got another one? He squished himself so much that the next question could only come out as a bashful peep. That's That's the paper from yesterday, right? The one that Tamarack found? No, Chew, this is not. You glanced at the paper for a second, and then back at Chew. The side with words was the one you had up. You could read at least some of the message, even if it was a little bent in your hand. But you guessed it was still a shot, and Chew didn't want to miss the tiny chance he hadn't been caught losing another piece of notebook. That was exactly what had happened, though. No, it's a different one. Yeah, it looks like it, huh? Then his stiffness melted away, and Chew stood evenly, with his head high again. A grin grew, too, same as the flowers written over it. You know, Andy, your sorcery amazes me. Aw, I'm not a sorcerer, though. You and him broke out into laughter together. Chew losing his paper over and over definitely was not the work of a sorcerer, but it was a lot more fun for both of you to think that way. I told you it was magic. Chew swept his left palm up towards you, kind of like how somebody might ask for a dance in a movie. He did fancy moves like that a lot. You placed the page right there, like the paper was giving him a low five. Chew crossed his right arm over to reach into the left pocket of his pants. Out came his well-worn notebook with the pages that barely stayed stuck inside. He flipped it open with his thumb and positioned the missing paper squarely on the top of the rest of the set. He ran his non-empty fingers over the tattered side of the book, pressing the corners and edges that had been sticking out mostly back into straight lines. Then Chew flicked his wrist to close the notebook, dropped it back into his pocket, and patted the side of his pants fondly. That's that. You did it! The page made it home! Hallelujah! Random Yanshi choir, just like hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I don't actually sing like that. I sing much different, but I'm being stupid. You know, Chew shifted his red sneakers, pinching his toes and the back of his foot in and out. He wasn't going anywhere, but it looked like the two caterpillars inching around on the floor. Huh. I've got something I wanted to ask you about, too. Oh, what is it? He drummed a few fingers fast against the side of his face. You can do that. For as bold as Chew had always been, and he was still trying to be, his choppy talking and even jerkier movements was a lot more uncomfortable than confident. So, what's with those bandages? You have more on than you did yesterday, too. Did you get hurt before? You probably must have, right? Because that's what bandages are for. Either that or I'm just a weird kawaii girl who's like, ooh woo, bandages everywhere because I'm so quirky. If you're an ill kawaii girl, I'm sorry, not meaning to insult you. Chew bunched his eyebrows upwards and squeezed one eye closed. It was a wink. Sort of. Though it didn't feel funny or silly. Silly? Silly. Man, I am weird. Though it didn't feel fun. Or silly. Maybe he was the one hurt, and that's why he was wincing. Oh my gosh. Wait. I kind of fall a lot. That's amazing. I kind of fall a lot. Yeah. Alright, then I'll catch you next time. Am I taller than you, Chew? I think I am. How are you going to be the one catching me? That's all I needed to ask about. It's done. Thanks. Chew didn't have anything else to say to you then. You could tell since he wasn't looking at you anymore. His gaze was on the move. He'd already seen everyone there was to see in the class that looked like all the other classes. At least you thought so. But he did find something that needed his attention. In his mind, anyway. Oh, see, she hasn't left either. Wait right there. I've got something big to do. After cupping his hands around his mouth, Chew called out past you all the way to the other side of the room. Hey, Tamarack, get over here. You've got to see this.
What is it? What is it?
No, you have to look. Don't make her wait. Tamarack bounced across the room faster than an Olympic athlete. Probably. It would be close, at least, because she was really speedy. She did a skipping leap for the last foot before reaching you and Chew, and tossed her arms straight up in the air as she stuck the landing. The fringed strands of her pink scarf, which she had securely wrapped around her neck again, had flown up and almost tickled your nose. Don't tickle my nose, Tamarack.
I'm here.
Good. Check it out. Chew waved urgently for her to come closer with one hand and reached in his right pocket with the other. That wasn't the side he kept his notebook in. He was going for something else. The two leaned in, having a one-on-one cuddle. You weren't a part of it. But you could tell what he had by the little glimpses you could catch over his hunched shoulders and the sound of it. What is that sound? Oh my goodness, it rustled and crinkled, not in a sharp way like leaves, but in a soft, squishy way. Ugh. Chew was holding up a wadded-up bag, probably from whatever grocery store Golden Grove had. He kept the bag tightly closed, gripping two sides at the top and keeping his fists pressed together. Then he suspiciously looked side to side. No one else would be allowed to see the treasure hidden behind... Okay, real quick. Chew, how big are your pant pockets if you can keep a whole bag of whatever that is in your pants? This is a legitimate question I have, and I'm not getting any answers. Tamarack did it too, after him, either to double check or to not be left out, or maybe because she didn't want to miss what he might be spotting. Who knows? All right, this is it. Suspense pulled on your two neighbors. Tamarack bit the nail of her thumb and totally stopped breathing. There was nothing in the world for them right then except the bag and whatever it held. And finally, before Tamarack could fall over from no air, Chew parted his hands and stretched open his unusual gift wrapping. Mouth open, eyes wide, Tamarack gawked down into the bag. You figured she'd go, whoa, or something, but she just scanned whatever it was up and down with the same eager expression. Oh no, it's gonna be something horrible, isn't it? It was possible. She was so blown away her face had got stuck like that. That turned out not to be true, because she eventually saw enough for a reaction to slowly begin rumbling inside. Oh no! First it was with the edges of her lips wobbling, then her eyelashes trembling, and finally her brows pinched fiercely. Tamarack snapped her head up and glared straight into Chew's awaiting smirk.
That's trash!
Oh my... Did you give Tamarack trash, Chew? What does that say about Tamarack, huh? You saying Tamarack's trash? Is that it? Because if so, we're about to throw hands. I know I'm a VTuber and technically I don't have hands, but I would throw them if I could. Oh my gosh. Wait. Oh boy, Chew's up to something? Yeah, no, that's how what I would say, but no, it was like, Chew, what did you show to Tamarack? It better not be something bad. Yeah, what did you show her? Trash? Huh? A tiny bubble of a snicker popped out from Chew's mouth, and then there was another one, even louder. He laughed. Oh my gosh. The laughs kept bursting bigger and bigger until he was shaking so bad that whatever was in the bag almost bounced out. Goodness gracious. It's trash. What?
Yeah, it is. Just like I said.
Being heard over Chew's giggling fit could have been a problem, but Tamarack was entirely okay with shouting. Mrs. Murray looked over at the commotion from her fancy teacher's chair. Oh no. She still had that folder with the roll call paper in it and the class schedule open. Maybe there was no rules once class was out, or maybe this kind of thing was normal with her students because she didn't tell any of you to quiet down. She just went back to her job stuff. By the time you focused on your neighbors again, Chew had started to calm down. Chew heavily shook his head and wiped a tear from the corner of his eye, even though heavy breaths he gave were a... Even through heavy breaths, he gave a wisecracking answer. I didn't say it was something you'd want to have, just something you should see.
And why would I want to see your trash?
Oh, why would she? You're rude. she asked him crossly while crossing her arms to go with it. Chew gathered the bundles into one hand and swung the arm up near his chest so the bag hung over his shoulder. The pose would have fit best for someone modeling a purse 5 times more expensive than anything your ma owned. And she had really nice ones for work, not a plastic bag full of garbage. Oh my goodness. I have reasons. I've always got reasons, huh?
What are they?
The question was cautious, wary of any other tricks Chew might pull, but the curiosity was clear in her voice. Being presented a bag of garbage was okay, as long as it had some kind of secret.
Well...
He paused to rearrange his face into something more serious and nodded thoughtfully. Even though me losing that paper was an unexplainable mystery, I was thinking about how you just got out to this town and are already having to pick up after other people to keep the forest clean. That's not fair. Oh. It's sweet. You're thinking about Tamarack. Oh, look at her face, though. She knows it's sweet. Look at that. Still speaking as a wise mentor, Chew used his other hand to gesture tellingly at the windows. So, I decided to go back outside yesterday and check the forest for litter. This is all the stuff I got so far. You got a trash bag full of garbage from the woods? I'm concerned about the people who are going through your woods because around where I live, woods are not usually filled with garbage. He really did have his reasons, and it was exactly like he'd done with you and the note. Chew imagined that Tamarack had probably thought, or felt, from what happened yesterday. And when it seemed like it could be said, he did something about it. Tamarack sucked in a gasp of air and let it out as a squeal.
Really? You cleaned the woods?
I did. All of this went from being on the ground into my trash bag.
Wow, that's so nice.
She did a whoa. She wrote about it after all. And she also kicked her feet up, one after the other in a happy little dance. Her bag jostled along with her moves, like a partner. It was your good idea first. Aw, friendship? Friendship! That could have been humble, but he cocked his chin and grinned so pleased with himself that it wasn't really anymore. Tamarack was too giddy to care, or notice.
Thanks, Chew.
Oh my gosh. What the? There's 2 over here. Yeah, thanks, Chew. Doesn't everyone pick up? You couldn't believe Chew was impressing Tamarack. You wanted to do that. Yeah. Yeah, Andy, be jealous. Why did you have to be so friendly with everyone? That was something you'd have to watch out for. Oh no. Oh, that maybe I shouldn't have made Andy jealous. The little trio of you, Tamarack and Chew, stayed together, reunited over by the desks, while the room became more and more empty of anybody else. After a while, besides you 3, there was only the teacher left in class. It was empty enough and quiet enough you could hear the doorknob twist and click. That was all that happened, though. You'd figured somebody would come in. Well, everyone, I think it's a safe place to say goodbye to Golden Grove, because this episode is already 30 minutes, and I know I said it would be the last one, but apparently there's more stuff to explore. So if you would, go check out the playlist, and join us again next time for another episode in our life, now and forever. Goodbye.